Okay, so everybody can hear me fine?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'll go ahead and start then. I am recording this, so if you want to afterwards go back and replay it, I'll download it and send you the link so that you'll be able to do that. I don't think this is going to really take 2.5 hours, but there's some key things that I want to talk about, and I want to give plenty of time for questions. If I need to go in and share my screen, I'm happy to do that too. But just basically want to go over a few basic things with you as to what we need to have in place and how things need to be operating so we can make sure that we get the outcomes that we want with Operation Family Caregiver. So again, it's being recorded, so you can go back to it if you need to. What I really want to talk today about is the program forms, what their use and function is, what the importance of getting the data is that we're getting, troubleshooting that we have around the online data collection. The oversight of the volunteer coaches, this is a different model. The coaches are not working 40-hour weeks like our coaches are at our other sites, and so we've got to look at ways that we can make the oversight process easier and less burdensome on them. I want to talk about partnership building and some tools for marketing and recruitment. And again, some of this I think that was covered in the initial training that you guys went through, but I just want to hone in on a few things that I think will help us as we try to really improve our numbers and get more completers, because I know that's your goal and that's definitely our goal too. And just a quick word about the oversight piece. This is important because we have to be accountable, not just to our funder, Bristol Myers Squibb, who I just got off a phone call with, but we also have to be accountable to the protocols. And I don't know what you guys' background is in evidence-based programming, but RCI is really seen as an expert in this field. That's why we're able to continue to get funding for the different programs that we run through RCI, because we understand what it takes to implement an evidence-based program and implement it in an evidence-based way. And so we have to make sure that we're staying true to the protocols. If we don't do that, then it's not really Operation Family Caregiver, and we're not going to have the outcomes that we need to be having. So just keep in mind that we have to do oversight because we are accountable to the people that are paying for the program, and also we're accountable to the program itself. The data collection, I know you guys know what all the forms are, and that the caregiver does all of this online. The main thing I want to say about this is until a caregiver completes this initial data collection, they're not enrolled in the program. They may be interested in the program, they may be talking to you about the program, but until we get this data piece done on the front end, they're not an enrollee in Operation Family Caregiver. So I wanted to make sure everybody is very clear on that. When they go in and complete the forms, the coaches, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, the coaches can go in and check to see that they've done them, and then they need to be downloading those forms and keeping them electronically so that we've got the forms that the caregiver filled out. Because we'll have to pull those from time to time and check the fidelity piece on it. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this other than to say all of these forms that we use are vetted forms that have been used in caregiving research for years. And by getting some baseline information and then at the end of the program, seeing where the caregiver is when we do the time 2 on the data collection, that's how we're able to prove the positive outcomes. That's where we see that they may have had a CESD depression score of 32 when they started. When they end the program, it may be an 8. And so we need to be able to show the pre and post. If a caregiver drops out before they do the second piece of data collection, then basically it's as if we didn't have them in the first place. If we just have the pre-information and don't get the post, then there's no way we can draw outcomes from that. that's what is going to keep this program going as far as funding, is being able to prove that the outcomes are there. So it's incredibly important that the caregiver does this piece, but it's also even more important that they do the time too. And that's done at 75% of the sessions. I know that all of that Naomi has gone over with in the trainings that she's done. But just wanted to see if you had any questions about the specific tools themselves, why we're using them, or any of that before I move forward and talk about troubleshooting and the data collection. Any questions at all? Okay. This is what makes it an evidence-based program, is that we know that if you go through the program and we know what the caregiver scored in the beginning and what they score at the end, having those proven positive outcomes is what makes it evidence-based. And that all comes back to the fidelity to the protocol. So the data collection is what is going to give us our outcomes, and we'll know how good we're doing with the caregivers or your coaches will know how good they're doing with the caregivers that they're serving. Are you having any specific problems at this point with the caregivers being able to go online and do the data collection?
I have one caregiver right now. I think this is like her 5th attempt.
Can you speak up just a little bit, Sandra Lee?
Yes, sorry. I said I have a caregiver that's made, I think this has been her 5th attempt this weekend to get on, and she finally took a picture of the screen, and she gets on to the Operation Family Caregiver page, and then it comes up and it says there's a problem and she can't get in. And I don't know why there's a problem. I've never seen that before. So I don't know how to help her troubleshoot to make that different, other than to say, keep trying.
Okay. So does she get into the first screen? Does she get
Yes.
into, and you've given her the information to put in on that screen?
Yeah.
You're not on the phone with her when she's trying to do it?
No.
Okay. Then that would definitely be the next thing that I would do. You know how to go in to the screen. You've got that information, and you've got that webinar that talks you through it. So if you're both going in at the same time and looking at the same thing, that's what you're going to have to do so that you can see what she's doing wrong. She might be picking up an extra space, or it could be some little tiny thing like that. But don't have her keep trying and trying and trying. Walk her through it and get on the phone with her and pull up and see what's going on.
Okay, so the page that she pulled up says error. An error has occurred, 404, page not found.
Okay, then she's not going in right. Naomi, is there anything you want to say about this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No. Sandra Lee and I worked on this when I was there back in October, and I thought the same thing. I said, let me just show you real quick, and we never could get it fixed that day. I thought, isn't that when Sandra Lee, I directed you to Laura, but then Ashley said that you guys had it figured out?
Well, now I can get in just fine, but now I've got this caregiver that's having a problem. So I think there's hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes you can get in and it's great. Another time you're trying to get in and it's like Naomi said, that day that we tried several times and we just couldn't get in. So it's not consistent accessibility.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay.
Because we're not having this problem with any of the other sites, and so that's why I'm really wondering what's going on. This is a person that's not ever been signed up in the first place?
No, she's just trying to get in to start the data collection.
Okay. When we get off of this, send me her caregiver ID number.
Okay.
And send me, what did you send her? Did you send her an email with the directions on it?
I did.
Okay. If you can send me a copy of that.
Okay.
And then let me see if I can go in. I just can't, unless I'm in at the same time that the caregiver is, there's no way for me to troubleshoot it.
Is it possible that maybe on her end something isn't updated on her computer? Maybe it's a web browser problem. I know sometimes some web browsers don't like to support different programs and they will boot you out. So maybe I would recommend her trying Chrome if she's not using Chrome, or even Firefox sometimes is a good one to try. It just might be the browser that she's trying to use to access that site.
Absolutely. Those are the two that we would recommend that she use. If she's using Internet Explorer or Safari or Netscape or any stuff like that, that could be the problem. So do that first. See if she can use a different browser. Because when I say the other sites aren't having any trouble, they're all using Chrome or Firefox. So that could definitely be it. Was that Ashley that just said that?
No, this was Mikkel.
Mikkel, okay. Thank you, Mikkel. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, so Sandra Lee, it's just been this one caregiver that you're having an issue with now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, let's try that, and then send me, if you need me to get on and troubleshoot with somebody, I will. If it was happening all the time at the other sites, then I would think that it was a problem with the actual program, but I don't think it's that. I think it probably is related to a browser and what their capacity might be for that. But we don't want her to get so frustrated that she just gives up.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Any other question around? And let me ask you this: Have you all watched the webinar that I did that walks you through the process as if you're the caregiver?
The YouTube one?
Yes.
Yes.
Mikkel, have you had a chance to do that?
I don't know if I've gotten the link to that one yet. I'll have to look in my email and see if I have that link. I wanted to ask you a question too. We had an event last week, and so several people were interested in signing up to become a caregiver to go through the data collection process. And every time I go in to check, I can only check so many before I get locked out for 30 minutes. Is there any way to avoid doing that? If they haven't even started the data collection, I don't know if it thinks I'm some kind of spyware or something or what's going on, but it'll lock me out for 30 minutes at a time.
Okay, you're trying to help me understand what it is you're trying to do. You're just going on to see if they've done it?
Right, to see if they've started the data collection process at all yet.
Okay, just type in their number, go in and look at one, and then get back out of it, and then try another one. I'm not exactly sure I'm following how it is you're trying to. How are you going in to see if they've done it?
So I'm going to the website and then typing in the password, and then I'm typing in their number that I've assigned them, and then assessment 1. And if they haven't started it yet, it tells me that there's an error because there's nothing for the site to pull up. So, but if I do that, say like 3 times in a row with ones that haven't been started yet with the numbers that I've assigned them, then the system, it'll lock me out for 30 minutes.
Okay, and I think there's a better way for you to be checking than to do that.
Okay.
And let me think about that one, and I'm making notes as we go of things that are issues. But I've got an easier way that I think you can do that without doing it in that manner.
That would be wonderful.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions around the data collection? I know it's a pain to some people, and I just want to make sure that if you've got any questions that if I don't tell you right now, I'm definitely going to find out and get back to you as to what the issue could be. Anything else around the data collection piece?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to move on then because I can pull one up if you want to do. We've got plenty of time. That's why I built so much time in. I can minimize this screen and share my desktop and go in and look at one of the ones you're talking about. The one that you're having trouble with, Sandra Lee. If you want to do that while I'm here on with you, it's entirely up to you.
I think I'm good. I think what I'll do is there's a little bit of a language barrier. She's from Germany. And probably what I'll do is I'll have Janessa talk to her in her own language, and I think we can ask questions about what browser she's using, because I think that's going to be an issue. She's been in this is her 5th time on Sunday to do it. So maybe if I have Janessa talk to her about her browser.
Okay.
I think we'll take that, and if that becomes not the issue, then I would love some help. But let me try that one with Janessa talking to her in German first.
Okay. And one thing I will tell you, and maybe you don't know this, but all of this data is housed on our server. So we can go in and we can look and see which ones they've done, which ones they haven't done. So, if all else fails, we can go in and check one for you and let you know if their data has been done or not.
Yay!
We can pull that for all of our sites. We can go in and do that. And it's not the same thing as what you're trying to do. You're going in to actually look at the form and see what their answers were. And you're logging in as if you are them. We don't have to do that. We can just go in and see everybody that's done one.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great so we don't get locked out of the system.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to move on then. This is where I really want to spend some time because we're going to need the supervisors to really focus on certain things, and we're going to need the coaches, since you've got a lot of coaches that are only doing like 1 or 2 cases, to focus on what they need to be focusing on, since they're not paid and they're not devoting nearly as much time to this as our other sites. My understanding is that the site supervisors, and I know that I've sent a number of referrals to you guys, you assign the case to the coach and give the caregiver ID to the coach, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mikhail, you'll be doing that too, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Laura, this is Ashley. I think they do it a little different than most sites. They carry the caregiver all the way through until the data is entered in, and once the data is entered in, then they give then they hand it off over to the coach.
Okay.
So
Exactly.
the supervisor works with them one-on-one.
So the coaches are not sending the emails out telling them how to get in. You guys are doing that. The supervisors are doing that.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now, beginning January, and I can tell you what the dates are going to be. We're not going to be doing monthly technical assistance calls like we have done in the past with all the OFC sites. We're going to be doing quarterly. And we can't obviously get the coaches to be on those calls, even though my coaches from the other sites will be on the calls along with their supervisors. But the supervisors need to be on these calls. So it'll just be 4 calls in a year. The reason the supervisors need to be on these quarterly technical assistance calls is because we'll be talking about specific issues. I can tell you the one in January is going to be around marketing and recruitment. So that's definitely, and we have a person on contract with us who helps us with marketing and recruitment, and she's going to be on that one, and she will be able to give you some really good ideas around things that you can be doing that will increase the amount of referrals and enrollees that you get. So I did want to really stress that the supervisors need to be on those quarterly technical assistance calls. That's in the letter of agreement with all of our sites and with you guys, and we need to have you on there. Let me go ahead and give you the dates. I'll be sending something out at the end of this week, but the dates of those calls are January 19th, April 20th, July 20th, and October 19th. And they'll always be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. But I did want to go ahead and give you a heads up about those dates. So really need to have you guys be on those calls. In the letter of agreement, we said monthly calls, so you're not going to have to do that, but we do need you on there quarterly. And the outreach reports that you guys are doing and sending to Naomi, I want to talk about the outreach reports for a minute. First of all, we need to be doing things the same across all of our sites because we know what works. The outreach reports go to Naomi monthly. We don't need to be doing any weekly reports. That you're spending way too much time doing reports if you're doing weekly reports. So reports need to be monthly. The outreach report format that you have is fine. but I've reviewed the outreach reports for San Antonio and for DC. And the reason we do these and the reason we look at these is what you're doing is you're totaling up the number of attendees. And you're saying what if it was a conversation, a presentation, a tabling event, that type of thing, fine for you to keep track of that. And then you've got how many caregiver referrals came out of it. So what we really need to focus on is the things that are being done that are resulting in referrals. So it's fine to put, and we do want to know how many people you're doing a presentation to or doing a tabling event for. We know, based on all the sites that we work with, that tabling events hardly ever result in anybody enrolling in the program. But they take a lot of time and effort on your part. So the reason we do these reports is just we can take a look and we can see, okay, what's working and resulting in referrals, what's not working and not resulting in referrals. And I noticed on the San Antonio one, out of all the things that have been done since July, the only thing that has resulted in any referrals was an informal presentation at a caregiver's coffee. And so I highlighted that. So I'm going to talk to you more about presentations and make sure you've got all the tools you need to do presentations about OFC. But that type of an event obviously worked for San Antonio. Doesn't mean that it would work in DC because, you know, locations are different and the types of events that you can pull off at different places are different. But I just want you to understand that what's important is for you to be looking at this to see where are we doing things that we're actually getting some people enrolled. And all the other ones that you're doing, if they aren't resulting in referrals and they take some time on your part, then those are the ones you need to not be doing anymore. No reason to be, you know, beating your head against a wall on things.
Hey, Laura.
Uh-huh.
Naomi. Dr. Esom asked them to keep up with how many people they're, present to or any kind of.
Yeah, I want them to do that, but I'm just saying that, yeah, I do want that. I mean, that's okay. The form is fine the way it is, but it's no good if you don't go back and review. You know, if there were 1,200 people at something and you got no referrals, it's the event itself. You don't need to keep doing those types of events. So it's just a way so that you can review and see what is actually working. But no, we do want to know how many attendees so that you can figure out, since the supervisors, you know, those are the paid positions, you really are in charge of the marketing and recruitment for your site. That's probably one of your biggest deliverables is that you do that. And so you need to be looking at where you're spending your time. If you're spending your time doing a tabling event and not getting anything out of it, but you had to sit somewhere with a booth for 8 hours. So you see what I'm saying? I just want you to be using this as a tool to go back and see what are the things where we reached a lot of people and got something out of it. If you're not getting referrals out of it, it might be something you need to look at not doing so many of. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's not that I don't want you to say how many of attendees, but let's highlight the number of referrals you got out of it, and you've done a whole lot of stuff. So I mean, if you're just looking at how many things you did and how many people you did them in front of, that might look like it's successful. And what I'm saying is that really doesn't mean anything if it's not resulting in you getting referrals out of it. So you got to look at the whole thing, not just how many events and not just the number of attendees, but also how many people you're actually getting enrolled. One of the things that we'll be talking about on that technical assistance call next month is the two types of events that are really working across all of our sites, and that's a caregiver appreciation luncheon and a spa day type of event. And it's not uncommon if you have 30 people at one of those events that 25 of them sign up that day and actually enroll in the program. So it might take a little more time to put together an event like that, but if most of the people you're presenting in front of enroll in the program as a result of that one event, then that's a better use of your time than doing a whole bunch of this other stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. So yeah, the reports that you're doing, that format is fine, and just get them to Naomi on a monthly basis, and then she can review with you, and I'll take a look at them as well, just to see what looks like it's working the best for you. I am curious because Sandra Lee, are you the one that? Let's see which thing I'm looking at. Who was in charge of doing that caregiver's coffee in San Antonio in November?
That would have been Brandy Hall.
Okay, that would have been Brandy. So she's not here to answer the question, but it looks like there were 13 people there, and 3 of them enrolled in the program. So whatever it was that she did, that looks to be something that has a good percentage of outcome to it. So maybe you can talk to her and find out exactly how she did that, how she planned it. But that's what I'm talking about. Just use the report as a tool to focus your time and energy where it's going to do the most good. All right?
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the coach. Okay, and this is going to be, I think, a bit different than what it is that you've been doing. We have a tracking form, and I think that was something, Ashley, that I put on that jump drive, the tracking form. The tracking form needs to be done by the coach because they're the one that's working with that caregiver. And when they need to turn these in to Naomi on a monthly basis, not a weekly basis. And the reason is back to that fidelity thing. By them tracking their own case, they know if it's time for them to be seeing that person again, if there's been something happen and say their loved one went to the hospital for 2 months and they had to put the program on hold, they make those notations on that tracking form. And then when Naomi gets them, she knows if they're, where they are in the process. We just need to have this be something that they do because it's their case and they know what's going on with that case. Naomi's doing the technical assistance piece, and so she can look at those tracking forms. And just to give you an example, if somebody is enrolled in January and it's September and they're on session 2, then you've already lost fidelity to the model. This is a 4 to 6 month program, and you're supposed to be doing things every couple of weeks unless there's something that comes up, and that's fine, and then it can be put on hold and you can go back to it later. But we need to get a better handle on where these cases are, how far along they are, and how close they are to being complete. Again, if they don't complete, if you've got 500 people that enroll and only 10 complete, then it doesn't matter how many you had enrolled. We've got to get that post data. And so we can't pinpoint where the problem is, if there is a problem, unless we have a tracking form to look at and see where they are in the process and why it's taken so long to get from the second session to the third session and that type of thing. Naomi, anything you want to say about that? Naomi? I might have lost her. I don't know if she's still there.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. Anything that you want to say about that?
Nope. I think you're doing great.
Okay. The fidelity checklist is a PDF fill-inable form. That's part of the protocol, and the coaches all learned that when they were trained as a coach. That fidelity checklist, they just pull it back up. They go in and they check off the things that they check off. They enter the case notes that they enter, and they save it. They save it electronically. It's a PDF. And that way, if we feel like there's a problem with a particular coach, we can go in and we can look at that form and be able to tell what's going on. That's why we developed that fidelity checklist, so that we can identify where problems are. It's not to be punitive. It's not to take up people's time. But again, if you aren't doing each session according to the protocol, then you're not doing Operation Family Caregiver. You're doing something, but it's not OFC. And we've got to be able to have ways to go in and check. We've had a couple of sites, one in particular, not one of your sites, one of my other sites, that was where we identified a problem. We put a corrective action in place. The coach and the supervisor didn't adhere to the corrective action, and they're not a site anymore. So I'm not saying it wouldn't at some point turn into something punitive, but it's not meant to be punitive. It's meant to make sure we're doing the program the way it's supposed to be done. We've got to do that. That's part of the protocol of the program. So the coach is responsible for doing the checklist after every session, whether it's a Skype session, whether it's in their home, whether it's on the telephone. When they finish that session up, they need to pull up that PDF form, fidelity checklist for that particular caregiver ID number, and fill it in and then save it. So any questions about that?
No, I'm getting those from the coaches. I just got a question about the OFC tracking form
Uh-huh.
that goes to Naomi monthly. Is that coming from Ashley to you or from us to you?
The tracking form, the tracking form needs to go from the coach to Naomi. They're the ones and she can share it with you, but the coach has the case. And we need to get things quicker, and we need to get them directly like we do with all of our other sites. So that OFC tracking form, the coach fills it out on a monthly basis and sends it to Naomi and copies you guys. But it doesn't need to go to you and then you send it to Naomi. It needs to go directly to Naomi.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, and then on this tracking, I had one question. I think this is probably a good place to ask the question. So if we've got a caregiver that needs to take a break in the program, we're working on that 16 to 24 weeks, but we have a caregiver that for some reason needs to take a break. How are we working with that, and how does that work with staying true?
On the tracking form, you just put it on the tracking form. There's a section. You got the one of the places that you can enter stuff in is where you would put that. Caregiver request break. We'll pick back up after X weeks or whatever. Just type it right into the form.
Okay.
So any notes that have to do with that case, just put it on the form next to that client ID.
Laura, this is Ashley. I have a question about the tracking sheet.
Huh?
I have a question about the tracking sheet. So,
okay, can you speak up? I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. What is the date that you're looking for when it says date tracking sheet completed?
That's the day that's the day that they filled it in before they sent it to Naomi. It doesn't mean it's not when it's not when the case was completed. If it's if it's today's date, when that coach fills out that form, they put that date.
So it's going to be basically a running log per se.
Yes.
Okay.
And that makes just a running log, exactly.
Okay. And we can use this sheet for, let's say a coach has 3 caregivers. Can they use the same sheet, or do they need to be using different sheets?
No, they would use the same sheet, just one sheet for all of their cases.
Okay. Thank you.
And I said the supervisors need to be on those quarterly technical assistance sessions with me. I think Naomi is looking at, and I'll let her speak to this, starting in January, doing quarterly sessions with the coaches. And that fidelity checklist that I was just talking about, this is where she can be talking to them about, are they doing the sessions according to the timeline? If they aren't, she can identify the problem. They can work through how they're going to address the problem. But she needs to have some periodic communication directly with the coach so that she can go over these types of issues that they may be having. Naomi, anything you want to say about that?
No, just that we haven't even planned to do that yet with San Antonio because of the few changeovers that we've had. But I am doing that one with Sandra Lee coming up in just a few weeks. And then if Mikkel's prepared to do it there, we can do that in San Antonio as well and see how it goes. We plan to do it through Skype. Sandra Lee's is going to be on a Saturday morning because that's when their meetings are anyway. So me and Mikkel will have to get together and see what works best for her.
Okay, that's fine. But basically, again, it's just, you know, a way for her to see where things are, how things are going. You know, not all coaches are going to be staying true to the model as well as others, and we have to make sure, because of that accountability to the protocol and the accountability to the funder, we have got to make sure that the sessions are being done the way that they're supposed to be done. And so we've got to be able to check up on that and see what we can do to put in place to help if there is a coach that's having issues with things. So, okay, any other questions around this stuff about what the coaches are going to be responsible for?
Well, I have just one quick question for you, because you see this a lot. You know, we were having some difficulty getting the data collection done, and that was very frustrating for the coaches because it takes a long time. And as you know, some caregivers just have to do it piecemeal, and it doesn't happen as fast as we want sometimes. So we, by doing that, I mean, we're finding more success when we turn it over to the coaches once the data collection is done. But are we taking a part of that development of that relationship away when we do that? Now, I can't answer to that, but I'm hoping that you can with the experience that you have.
I think that there's a possibility that you are, and that's just my honest answer. We don't have it working like that in our other sites. The coach is assigned the case. They contact the caregiver. They walk them through the data collection piece, and so they're beginning at day one with establishing that rapport with the caregiver. So that's my quick answer. I think it's a possibility.
Okay.
If you have a reason, you know, and I assume that you do, that you have a reason that you're doing it the way that you're doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Getting onto the site and having it lock you out and not being able to get in, very, very frustrating to the coaches, very frustrating to those that are trying to do the data collection. So trying to streamline that to make that so that was not a negative impact on the start of their journey.
And I guess one thing that's still a question for me is why you guys have had so much trouble with that and all the other sites haven't. So, and I can't answer that. But I will tell you this, at the other sites, when the coach has it from the beginning, part of the way that they're trained is they're supposed to be available at the time that if there's a problem initially with that caregiver going in and doing the data collection piece, then we ask our coaches to get online with them or get on the phone with them while they're trying to do it so that they can walk them through it and get them successfully in.
Okay.
Any other questions about that?
No.
Okay. And, well, I was going to say I assume. I don't want to assume anything. But that YouTube webinar about the data collection, everybody that's serving as a coach needs to watch that, and they need to be very comfortable with doing it themselves so that they can understand the data collection process. Not just for you and Mikkel and Ashley to understand it, they need to understand it too. So if that, I don't know if that's being shared with them or not, but they all need access to that webinar too.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to move on then. I want to talk a little bit about fidelity with you guys. Like I said, you know, evidence-based implementation is RCI's forte. We've gotten funding from corporations. We've gotten funding from the federal government for a number of years, and it's because we're really focused on fidelity, and they know that we're going to really be make our sites be strict to the adherence of the fidelity. So I just wanted to give a brief refresher on what we mean by fidelity, and it's adherence to the key elements of the program. It's an evidence-based program. All evidence-based programs have been through a randomized control trial first, and the things that were shown to be critical to achieving the positive outcomes were the number of sessions, the timing of sessions, and the content of sessions. So in other words, if you're supposed to have 6 sessions and you only do 2, then obviously you're not having fidelity to the program. If the timing of the sessions, which that tracker will help with, if they're spaced too far apart, and we don't understand why, and it wasn't because of something that was going on with the caregiver, then you're not having fidelity to the protocol of the program. The content, you've got the protocol. It's basically scripted out. You're supposed to do certain things in the sessions. If you're not doing that, then again, you're not having fidelity to the program. And again, we had this happen with a site that's no longer a site. They were doing something, and some caregivers even got a positive result out of what they were doing, but they weren't doing Operation Family Caregiver. And that's what this program is Operation Family Caregiver. It's not just information and referral or psychosocial counseling kind of a thing, whatever the coach was doing that, just spending time listening to a caregiver. We know that can be positive for a caregiver, but it wasn't OSC. So again, fidelity means you've got to do the things that are laid out in the protocol of the program, and that's why we have to have some tracking forms so that we can make sure they're being done. The reason that we need fidelity is we want to prevent this, and what this is meant to convey is drift. Again, if you're doing it a different way than what it was done in the randomized control trial that had the proven positive outcomes, if you start drifting away, and if you're supposed to do 12 sessions and you're only doing 10, and then you start drifting down to 9, and that kind of drift happens a lot in programming, and it results in you not having positive outcomes. So the outcomes come as a result of doing it the way it's supposed to be done, and staying, on that protocol. If you don't do that, you're going to get drift, and then you're not going to see the positive outcomes. If you don't have the positive outcomes, you're not going to get the program funded. And so we're not trying to keep a thumb on anybody. We're trying to track the fidelity so that we won't have drift, and we will have positive outcomes. And the reason we measure the fidelity and look at the outcomes is we need to find out, is it an implementation problem or an effectiveness problem? So if you're having low fidelity to the model of the program, and as a result there's a poor outcome, that's an implementation problem. And, we're here for technical assistance. We know how to help address implementation problems. If there's high fidelity, and they're doing it exactly by the book, but there's a poor outcome, then that indicates an effectiveness problem. And so that would be something you would like to look at in a totally different way. So again, our goal is to provide you what you need to have an effective program with positive outcomes for your caregivers. One of the things we talk about when we talk about evidence-based implementation, we talk about facilitative administrative support. And what that means is just proactive, vigorous, and enthusiastic attention by the program administration to reduce implementation barriers and to create a hospitable environment for success. And all that really means is that staff and management at all levels are paying attention and problem solving from beginning to end. So whether it's the coach that's having a problem, whether it's a supervisor, whether it's Ashley who's over the supervisors, everybody needs to be paying attention. And if there's a problem identified, that doesn't mean something horrible is going to happen. It means let's bring it out, let's bring it to the surface, let's talk about it. Let's share the problem with RCI, because they do a lot of technical assistance for programs all over the country. Let us help you troubleshoot. but you got to be paying attention and don't just put problems off to the side and hope that they go away. They won't go away, and they could get a whole lot worse. So again, just pay attention and problem solve and bring us into the process. Don't ever hesitate to bring us into the process. That's what we're here for. To be a good facilitative administration, you need to be asking for feedback from everybody, but particularly to the satisfaction of your coaches, because your coaches aren't being paid. This is a volunteer model, and if they aren't happy with what they're doing and they're having issues, then you're not going to keep them. And you already have a lot of turnover since we started this, and we know that turnover is greater with volunteers than it is with paid people. We have turnover with paid coaches too, but you have a lot more with volunteers. So, we need to make sure that you guys are asking your coaches, are they happy? Are they getting what they need? What is it that they need? What do they wish they had more of, less of, all that type of thing, because you're really wanting to reduce the barriers to the service and make sure that the caregivers are getting what they need from the program too. So the supervisors need to be getting what you need and being vocal about what your needs are. The coaches, the same thing, and the caregivers that are getting OFC, the same thing. So any questions about that? Okay. I want to talk for a minute, and this is one of the key things in the letter of agreement around partnership building. So the site supervisors, you guys are responsible for building partnerships with your local community-based organizations and veteran service organizations that you think can be strong referral sources for you. We're not in San Antonio, we're not in DC. So Sandra Lee, you're responsible for doing the partnership building at your level, in your area, in your neck of the woods, so to speak, and Mikkel, the same thing with you. What we're responsible for is building national partnerships that can positively impact your site enrollment. And so I just put up 4 of the ones that we've been actively working with that have helped bring some people into your program already, and we know we'll continue to bring people in. The Center for Brain Health, I know that you're going to be doing those events with them, and so I'll be talking in a minute a little bit more about that. But don't just rely on us to be doing all the partnership building, because we don't know who the people are in your local community that might be a really good referral source for you. We're going to give you the tools. That's the next thing that I'm going to be talking about. We're going to give you the tools, the branded assets, the marketing stuff that you need to do what you need to do at your local level to bring people into the program. We'll keep doing what we're doing to bring people in, whether it's VA caregiver support folks that are sending referrals in that we then send on to you, or if it's a result of a partnership like we're doing with the Brain Trust folks. So I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page about that. And then Mikkel, I know you're very new to the role, but I'm trying to remember who it was that told me about doing something with the Cohen site out there, but they're going to be an excellent source of referrals for you guys. So if you ever need anything that will be helpful to you and you going around and talking to folks, let us know and we'll get it to you. This site how-to guide that I've got up on the screen right now, are you guys familiar with this guide at all?
Yes.
Okay. I just have been fooling around with it in the last few days, and there's a couple of broken links, so I'm going to be making sure that everything is working in there. But we do have templates for things. We've got the 30-second elevator speech. We've got the key points to make about the program. And we've also got a template of a PowerPoint. And so that's the next thing that I have on here. And I wanted to ask you what would be the best way for me to go through this with you, because I know that you're wanting to know what you should present when you do the piece on OFC in conjunction with the Brain Trust event that you do. I can just run through the slides real quick. I can do an entire presentation with the slides. I'll leave that up to you. Another thing I can do, and I think I probably already have somewhere a saved version of, is I can take me giving this presentation and make it available to you in as an archived piece that you can go in and listen to. So what's the best way for me to do that piece?
I would like the one where you do where you record it, and then I can go in and kind of watch. I think that would be really helpful to kind of watch it as many times as I want and take as many notes, and I think that would be really helpful.
Okay, good.
I agree with that.
My throat is dry, and I was hoping I didn't have to give the whole thing right now, but I will. This template, and I'll just click through the slides. But of course, when you've got a template, we have the way that we're approached. The way we talk about OFC is kind of through a story, and so it's got a built-in storyline. It has a script, so when I'm showing you slides, the notes thing down in the bottom that you will see when I send you this. Has what it is that you say. So you've got a script for it, but I will record me giving it, and then you will have access to all of this, and know that there are some key areas where you make changes, and like the name of it is Empowering Military Families. You would put your name and your date in there, obviously. I'm just going to click through the slides so that you get kind of an idea for that it is a storytelling thing that we do, and you will have the script for it. And as I get more down to the end of it, I'll show you where you can do some more customizing of it. Okay, so this is the slide that shows all of our locations. So what you might want to do if you're using it, McKell, in the San Antonio area, is you may want to have a map that has San Antonio with a great big huge gold star on it. And if you need things like that, we can get you that, and we can send that to you so that you're not using, this would be what I would use for a national presentation. Same thing for you, Sandra Lee. Any little things that we can do that will focus in on, if you're using it in DC, you might not necessarily want to show all the other sites. You might just want to show yours. And that's the kind of customization that we're fine with you doing. Another thing is, and I had it in here after this slide, but it wouldn't let me upload it because it made the file too big. But what we normally do after this slide is we show a caregiver testimonial, and it's one that we recorded, that we videotaped ourselves. When you get to the point that you've got someone that is a completer of the program at each of your sites, somebody that's willing to be videotaped, then you really want to get a video testimonial of someone that's been through the program. You can show the one that we have of Nikki Stevens, but and she is a completer of OFC, but she's not a completer of OFC Blue Star Families San Antonio site. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you're doing a presentation in San Antonio or in DC, anything that you can pull in that has to do with somebody that's gone through the program locally is what your local people are going to want to see. And we're happy to assist you with anything that you need around that. But that's how you customize this to serve the need that you have. You may want to put a slide in that has a picture of of your caregiver coaches for your site. Any kind of thing that makes it identifiable to you and the people that you're serving in your local community, that's perfectly fine with us. We just give you the basic template, and you can customize it and tailor it for what you need to do. So I just wanted to tell you this is where we would put in a testimonial slide. And then the slide after this would be where we would put in, how do you get a hold of us? And so to show you how easy it is to customize, I pulled this up off of Blue Star Families website. And so when I'm giving it at a national level, it would obviously not have this. It would have something different. But how can you help when you end up, and this is at the end of what you do, when you give a presentation about OFC, you're going to say how you can help is. You can refer people into the program. You can put whatever it is you want them going to the website, a fillable PDF referral form, a phone number, whatever it is you want to put here, whatever picture you want to put, that will be what you want to do with it. And your goal should always be, whether you're doing a presentation for 5 people, for 15 people, for 100, you're going to want to tell them, the story that we're going to be telling with this, then talk about the program, talk about the outcomes of the program, and then how they can help. And how they can help is this is a free program, it's confidential, and they can tell people about it, and that will help drive up your referrals locally to whatever audience it is you're giving this to. So I just wanted to briefly show you that, we've got a lot of stuff already developed. You don't have to start from scratch. You just have to customize it a little bit. So any questions about any of that piece?
I think this is wonderful. I've done presentations where I haven't had this, and I'm elated that we have this.
Good.
Yay.
And another thing, OFC it's a national program. We are in 14 locations now. A lot of people have heard of it, so we want to be telling the story in the same way. That's another value added of having a template. We don't want each site to just throw up some slides of their own that aren't telling that same story. The messaging is very important. We were lucky to get some in-kind funding from the global design team at Johnson & Johnson as who came up with all of these marketing pieces for us, including this OFC template. And, just like McDonald's, has the same thing in all of their commercials, whether you're in Kentucky or whether you're in Illinois or whatever, the logo is the same, the message is the same, they get it your way or whatever their little tagline might be is the same. So it's the same thing with this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you want to tell the story in a way that, some people that you tell this to may have heard it somewhere else, and it needs to be a consistent message that this is free, this is confidential, and this is to help the caregiver of the service member or the veteran. So I just wanted to sort of give you a brief overview of what that would look like. Okay, and the toolkit you said you were familiar with, I'm going to make sure that the links to all of these things are working correctly, and I will resend that out to make sure that you have everything that you need. That was really all that I had, but I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions. So after going through all of this, are there any remaining questions that you have right now?
I don't think so. I really appreciate you running through all this stuff. It was very informative, and it's just amazing how much work everybody has put into this. So,
well, thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I am not familiar with the tracking form, so could I get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
And could we also get a copy of, I know we've changed it a little bit because we're going to start the data collection before they finish the program. Can we get a new updated sheet so I can share that with the coaches so that we're all on the same sheet?
Yeah, and I thought you had the updated protocol. But I'll make sure that you've got all the newest forms of everything. And the updated protocol tells the coach, and I think it's week 13 to 15 now where they go in and do that, but don't quote me on that. But yes, I want to make sure that all the coaches have all the newest things and know that, and I'm glad you said that because I forgot to cover this. By doing the data collection earlier, there's two reasons for that, the time to data collection earlier. The first is we have a lot of people that get about 3/4 of the way through the program and they drop out of it. And like I said, if we don't get the post data and we can't show that there was a positive outcome from the beginning of the program to the end, then as far as the data piece of it, improving that it's got positive effects for the caregiver, it doesn't help us any. So by backing it up a little bit, if we do it at the 75% mark, even if they drop out before we finish all the sessions, at least we've got the time to data. So that's the first reason. The second reason is the coach is going to pull that, just like they do when they do it the first time. They're going to go in and they're going to download those forms and they can save them as a PDF. And when they do the final session with the caregiver, they can show them how far they've gone. Getting some feedback. They can say, when we started, you were at this level of depression, and now at the end we're at a much lower level of depression. So doing it earlier allows them to show the positive outcome to the caregiver before they're out of the program, and allows us to get more post data.
I think that's a great move.
I don't know where that awful noise is coming from, but are there any other questions right now?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I'll make sure you've got the newest forms. I'll make sure you have the recording of me giving this little presentation about OFC. Please know that at any time you can get a hold of me or Naomi. We want to give you the tools that you need to make this thing successful, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.